Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us for today's October 16th SBCAG board meeting. For the record, my name is Randy Rouse, and I'm the chair of this year's board. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Director Silva,
Here.
Director Perotti,
Here.
Director Patino,
Here.
Director Mosby,
Present.
Director Lee,
Here.
Director Lavanino,
Here.
Director Julian,
Here.
Director Hartman, Director Clark,
Here.
Director Capps,
Here.
Director Brown,
Here.
Vice Chair Nelson,
Here.
and Chair Rouse.
Here. Thank you. Okay, would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? And begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, this is the public comment period for items not on today's agenda. Speakers have up to 3 minutes each with a total of 15 minutes allotted for public comment. Are there any public comment speakers present or online?
If there are any members of the public on the Zoom webinar who wish to speak, would you please use the raise hand feature and I will call upon you. There are no paper request to speak forms, and there are no attendees online who wish to speak.
Okay, very good. And then we have item 4. Any public comment for item 4? And then so could council then announce the closed session items into the record, please?
Chair and directors, today the board's agenda is to discuss one item in closed session. That item is conference with labor negotiators for all SBCAG employees. The agency designated representatives are Executive Director Kern and Chief Financial Officer and Human Resources Director Geis.
All right, very good. And then with that, we'll adjourn to closed session.
If there are any members of the public on the Zoom webinar who wish to speak, would you please use the raise hand feature and I will call upon you for closed session. And there are no responses and there are no paper requests to speak.
Thank you. Okay, we'll be back. Dean? Are we on? Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll reconvene the SBCAG meeting. I'll ask council, are there any items to report from the closed session?
Chair and directors, today the board met in closed session to conference with labor negotiators for all SBCAG employees and took no reportable actions.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any announcements for the consent calendar?
There are no announcements for the consent calendar.
And are any items to the consent calendar that any directors would like to pull for discussion or separate vote? And any from
Chair
North? Yes, Dr. Nelson.
I wanted to pull, I think it's I, which is the schedule for next year, just for discussion.
5I. All right.
That item I is SBCAG Board of Directors meeting schedule for 2026.
All right, very good. So any public comment on this, on any items? Did I ask for that?
If there are any members of the public that wish to speak to any consent items, would you please use the raise hand feature on Zoom and I will call upon you. There were no paper requests to speak forms and there are no attendees on the line who wish to speak.
All right, so with that, I'd ask for a motion to approve the consent calendar absent item I, which we will discuss.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Patino, seconded by Hartman. And we have the roll call vote, please.
Director Silva?
Aye.
Director Perotti?
Aye.
Director Patino?
Aye.
Director Mosby?
Aye.
Director Lee?
Aye.
Director Lavanino?
Aye.
Director Julian?
Aye.
Director Hartman?
Aye.
Director Clark?
Aye.
Director Capps?
Aye.
Director Brown?
Aye.
Vice Chair Nelson?
Aye.
And Chair Rouse?
Aye. Okay, and then item I, Director Nelson.
Is it read in the record? I guess it was. Right?
It was read in the record, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Rouse. As the presumptive chair for next year and this year's vice chair, SBCAG staff worked with me on next year's schedule. We discussed whether we need to have 12 meetings. So if you actually look at it here, we actually have 10 meetings for next year. So we've actually removed the meeting in July and December. We're going to try to get, as we're ramping down Measure A little bit, sometimes some of these agendas feel like you guys are trying to find some things to make sure that we cover to make it worthwhile having an agenda. So it was my desire to try to carve that down a little bit. Throughout the year, if there are opportunities to drop meetings, we're going to go ahead and try to do that. That said, as a chair, I work for all of you. If you guys feel like we need to have more meetings or less meetings, I want to invite you offline to reach out to me and to give me some feedback on that so I can make a good decision as your chair next year if you guys choose to elevate me to that spot. So just wanted to pull this item to discuss that, to highlight that, and to move forward. We've gone, we were every other month with APCD for a while, or we were every month at one point, and then we've reduced that. The one-on-one widening project has been such a laborious task for us to this point, and that we've needed to have monthly meetings. But in the future, if we don't, I don't like having meetings for meetings' sake. So again, I just wanted to highlight that. And if anybody had any feedback on that, I'll take it here. But also, I'd be happy to talk to you offline if you'd like to discuss it with me. So with that, I'll make a motion on this one to approve next year's agenda.
Okay, very good. We have a first on item I.
I'll second, but could we have some discussion?
Yes, you may. Okay, it's been first and second, and Chair Hartman.
So I have 2 points. The first is, are these linked to APCD in terms of Santa Maria and Santa Barbara?
We did coordinate with Air District on the schedule of this to make sure that we are coordinating with them. Yes.
Good. And then when we had a retreat, we enjoyed being together, and it created, and we obviously can't do that every time, but I wonder if it would be possible maybe to select some meetings where we, a couple a year, that we all are in the same place at the same time for the meeting. So I don't know how we would incorporate that now, but I think that would be valuable.
Hopefully, as your chair next year, I'll try to take that into consideration and try to rally the troops.
All right, with that, and if there's any more discussion from South County, if there's not, we'll go ahead and have the roll call vote, please.
Director Silva?
Aye.
Director Perotti?
Aye.
Director Patino?
Aye.
Director Mosby?
Aye.
Director Lee?
Aye.
Director Lavanino?
Aye.
Director Julian?
Aye.
Director Hartman?
Aye.
Director Clark?
Aye.
Director Capps?
Aye.
Director Brown?
Aye.
Vice Chair Nelson?
Aye.
And Chair Rouse.
Aye, thank you. Madam Clerk, would you read 6A into the item, into the record, please?
6A Draft 2025 Measure A Strategic Plan.
Okay, Mr. Koschak.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Director Marcus Kotick with SBCAG. We have a slide deck for you today that was included in the staff report. Okay. Today we are presenting the draft Measure A strategic plan to your board for feedback. Thank you. Next slide, please. So these are the topics we're going to cover today, and I'm sorry. If you want me to find a different picture, I'll keep digging.
It's a windy day every time we have a ribbon gun.
I can stop. Okay, no. I guess the point of this, we've made a lot of progress since we presented this to your board in July. So we're looking forward to providing updates and then getting feedback. We've been making a lot of progress as well with City of Santa Maria and Caltrans on remaining Measure A projects. So we have an update on that. Next slide, please. So the draft strategic plan is included as attachment to the staff report. And so we are looking for feedback on that today. We've been making good progress with City of Santa Maria and Caltrans on remaining projects, as I mentioned. So we're getting ready. We're in the project development phase on those final projects, and then in the near future, looking for outside funding to deliver on the projects. And then we've been working closely with the Technical Transportation Advisory Committee as well. We're providing them with draft chapters since July for their feedback. Next slide, please. Okay. So the purpose of the strategic plan is to update Measure A revenues and any other funding that SBCAG has to help to deliver on projects. We're also updating the scope, costs, and schedule and funding needs for remaining projects, and then identifying the funding strategy for delivering those projects. So we're at a point now where we're looking to have the board adopt the strategic plan next month to meet the 5-year requirement in the ordinance. And then we're going to start on the next strategic plan next year and dialing in on using regional funding for delivery. Next slide, please. There's a chapter in the strategic plan that focuses on successes. And so thanks to the voters of Santa Barbara County, with the approval of Measure A, we have 16 named projects or regional projects in Measure A. We've delivered on 7 of them, and they're already open to the public. There's another few that are fully funded and either in construction or project development, and then we're now focused on the final 4 with getting them fully funded and delivered as well. Next slide, please. So the key policy items that we're focusing on for the 2025 plan are to we incorporated the investment plan amendment that the City of Goleta requested, where we renamed the Goleta Overpass project to Project Connect. So that project is in construction. That happened last year. We came to your board in July with a policy on how to use regional funding after the Santa Barbara US 101 completion. So there are 3 funding sources, which we call regional funding, which I'll go over in a second. So your board adopted that policy. And then we are working with the project priorities for the final 4, which I'll go over in a second. So it's the 3 interchange projects in Santa Maria, and then the State Route 246 passing lanes project between Buellton and Lompoc. In terms of risks to delivery, we've identified those in a strategic plan. We need outside funding to deliver on projects. So one of the main sources for us in terms of regional funding is the gas tax. So with the advent of electric vehicles and improved fuel efficiency, at this point, we feel like the gas tax is there to help us, but we're watching to see any declines as well. So we'll continue to give the board an update on that, especially as the state is looking at options for replacing the gas tax. The other fund source for delivery is developer fee funding from the city of Santa Maria. And so the city is going through the update to their developer fee program right now. So we should get more information on the commitment by the city for the Santa Maria projects. And then the third and final one is tracking cost escalation versus revenue growth. So we have seen an increase in Measure A revenues, and costs, while they do increase, they're pacing together. So we'll continue to monitor that for future strategic plans. And if there's any point where you'd like to ask a question, I can pause and just let me know. So the next slide, please. So these are the final four. We have the US 101 interchanges in Santa Maria at State Route 135, Betaravia, and McCoy. And then we have 246 passing lanes phase 2 between Buellton and Lompoc. The US 101 135 project right now is priority 1. And so that project is in the project approval and environmental document phase. And then the next project, US 101 Betaravia, has just started its project initiation document. So it's a little bit behind, but it's number 2 in priority. The third priority is State Route 246 passing lanes phase 2. And so that project can begin environmental next year. So we'll bring an item to your board to start the environmental document. And then the fourth and final project is McCoy, which will be a brand new interchange. And so the city is going through their general plan update right now and determining the needs for McCoy. So we'll have a better idea once the general plan update is approved, and then we'll come back to your board next year on the status of the project. Next slide, please. Our goal is to fully fund and get these projects under construction as soon as we can. They are partially funded with Measure A. We do have some regional funding that we can also program, but we'll need outside discretionary grants through the state and federal government. But we're hopeful to have US 101 State Route 135 in construction in fiscal year 29-30. And then that'll probably be a couple years for construction. And then as funding becomes available, we can then fully fund and deliver the remaining projects. Next slide, please. So at this point, the project funding needs are about $215 million to $255 million. So we do have the Measure A amounts that are identified on the slide. And we do have regional funding, which we're going to start programming, but we will need the competitive grants as well. So staff is committed to pursuing those grants like we've done with other projects. And as opportunities become available, we'll present them to your board. Next slide, please. So the strategy at this point is to work with the city and county, city of Buellton, cities of Buellton and Lompoc on 246 passing lanes, the city of Santa Maria and Caltrans on the 3 interchange projects. We're working on project development. We're identifying regional funding. We've worked with City of Santa Maria, and there's the commitment to use local funding through developer fees to help with project development. And then that way we can save the Measure A and regional funding for construction and for matching for outside funding. So that's the strategy we have at this point. Ms. Kulkarni will present our recommendation on the Regional Transportation Improvement Program after this presentation. So we have the next tranche of money through the gas tax from the state that we can program to 101, 135. And then we will continue to look for every opportunity possible through state and federal programs to submit applications and then help fully fund and deliver the projects. Next slide, please. So we have presented the draft strategic plan to TTAC and to North County Subregional earlier this month. TTAC provided minor comments which have been incorporated into the document, and then we also received feedback from North County Subregional as far as making sure that any updates on the US 101 McCoy needs are brought back to the board for review and discussion, which we will work with the city and provide those updates. There's also feedback to look at FEMA mapping and any impacts on the 246 passing lanes as we get started on the environmental document. And then there was also feedback to consider any bonding or financing opportunities to get the remaining projects fully funded and advanced and delivered. So we continue to monitor those opportunities as well. Next slide, please. So at this point, as I mentioned, we have a deadline of December to approve this plan, and then we're going to start on the next plan shortly after. So we do have one recommendation at this point where we have to submit the nomination for regional gas tax funding to the state next month. So I don't want to steal any more thunder, but Maya will have that presentation shortly. And then that's the recommendation that we have for this plan. Next slide. So next steps, this month is focused on feedback. Next month, we'll come back and provide the final plan for adoption by your board. And then we're going to start on the next plan next year, working closely with our project partners, TTAC, and the board. Next slide, please. So I just did want to say thank you to our Technical Transportation Advisory Committee, but also thank you to City of Santa Maria. We've been working really closely with Brett Fulgoni and his team on project development, and the synergy there has been great. And then also thank you to Caltrans and then the SBCAG team for getting us this draft plan today. That concludes staff's presentation. Be happy to take any questions.
Anybody on the board have questions at this point? Director Nelson.
Yes, thank you, Chair Rouse. So that North County sub-regional comment about the McCoy interchange and that coming back to us in the future was a comment that came from me. And I just want to make sure as we move forward that the county's involved with some of these conversations. I know the 101, 135, Santa Maria on both sides, but Better Avia and McCoy, it's got the county on one side, city on the other. So I think keeping us involved in those conversations and those planning features would be really important.
Definitely.
So that we ultimately have a successful project. And I'm just looking forward to having that further discussion about the McCoy. It looks like with what the city's looking at with their general plan changes is that there's no plans for McCoy. I don't even think it's in the environmental document at this point. So looking forward to kind of robust discussion about where the best place to reprogram that Measure A project would be. Thanks.
Thank you.
Further questions from the board? Anything from the South County? All right, very good. Madam Clerk, were there any public comments provided in advance for this, or?
There are no paper request to speak forms, and if there are any members of the public on the Zoom webinar who wish to speak, would you please use the raise hand feature, and I will call upon you. And there are no responses.
Okay, very good. This is an action item, but is there any further board discussion on the item? From South as well. All right, very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Koschak. And would you read item 6B into the record, please?
Draft 2026 Regional Transportation Improvement Program recommendations.
Ms. Kulkarni.
Thank you. Maya Kulkarni from SBCAG Programming. And like Sarkis said, I'm going to be presenting our draft 2026 Regional Transportation Improvement Program, or the RTIP. Next slide, please. So today, it's not an action item, but we just want you to review and then send us any comments or provide any comments before we submit. So as background, we get state transportation improvement program funds from the state, and it's a 5-year cycle, but we update it every 2 years. So for this cycle, it's 2026-27 through 2030-31. Next slide, please. So we will be programming the RTIP funds towards PPM, which is Planning, Programming, and Monitoring, and that's a specific amount that we get, and then or that we can apply from off the top, and then the rest, as the board decided, will be going towards 101-135, and that's about 8.2 million, and this also will be going in fiscal year 29-30. Next slide, please. So we presented the draft to TTAC as well and got comments, and then we're presenting to you today for review. And then we'll be going back to TTAC in next month, as well as the board, for our final approval. And then once we get your final approval, we'll submit the actual document and the report to CTC in December. And then in March, they'll approve the STIP and our RTIP. And I think that's it. I want to make it pretty quick. But if you have any questions, definitely let me know.
Anyone from South County? Oh, I'm sorry. Anyone from South County? Okay, very good. Were there any public comments submitted for this, Madam Clerk?
There was no public comment submitted, and if there are any members of the public on the Zoom webinar who wish to speak, would you please use the raise hand feature, and I will call upon you.
Chair Rouse.
Director Nelson.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. So the RTIP funding, so this is the first time that we've come back up north in quite some time, is that right? It's mostly RTIP funding for the last 5, 10, 15 years? 20 years has gone to South Coast for the 101 widening project. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that this is a pretty momentous opportunity here. This is what, I've been banging this drum about for quite some time. So I just really want to celebrate it and thank, the board, thank staff, thank the city of Santa Maria for this project and highlighting it. And it just shows that, what we were waiting for up here is finally starting to churn. So I think it's just something I wanted to highlight and thank, not just criticize as I often do. So and with that, is there action on this one? Or is this?
No, there's not an action item.
Just comment.
Presentation.
Thank you.
Any further comments? Anybody from Santa Barbara? All right, very good. Like we said, it's not an action item, presentation only. So we'll move on to item 6C. Madam Clerk, would you read that into the record, please?
And for the record, there were no Zoom attendees on the line who wished to speak for item 6B. 6C, 2026 Unmet Transit Needs Process Direction.
All right, very good. And once again, Ms. Kalkarni.
Okay, so now I'll be talking about our unmet transit needs process direction for 2026. Next slide, please. So today we do have an action, and that's to either carry out the process so that TDA funds can be used for streets and roads, or carry out the process so that no funds can be used towards streets and roads and it only goes to transit. That's the gist of it. I know it's pretty wordy up there, but next slide, please. So TDA was created to fund transit, but there was a compromise for rural areas. So we can go through this transit needs assessment and we can use it for street and roads improvements as well. It's a specific part of it, but there's some that we can use for streets and roads as well once we go through this process. Next slide, please. There are two funding programs within TDA, or Transportation Development Act, and that's state transit assistance. But we are specifically talking about the Local Transportation Fund, or LTF funds, which are funded through a sales tax, a state sales tax. Next slide, please. So we get transit funding through various state, federal, and local funds. And then LTF is roughly 45% of those funds. And this just kind of highlights that for you. Next slide, please. And this is our most recent claim, what the North County put towards transit. I just want to highlight a couple things. The first one is the county, they get more than $150,000, but they give out around $3 million roughly to other North County agencies. And then also City of Santa Maria puts all of their LTF funds towards transit because that is consistent with state law. You have to, if you're above 100,000 in population, then you can't use it for streets and roads. You have to put it towards transit. Next slide, please. This is just kind of what our historic funding. So early on, we did put a lot of these funds towards streets and roads, about $3 million. And then once Breeze 100 was created, that was the Lompoc to San Maria. I think it's changed now, the name of it. Then we started putting more of the LTF funds into transit. And then it went back up again. And then in, 13, 14, Lompoc started to have their transit facility project. So more of the funds started going to towards transit again. And then in, I think it was like 2019, 20, somebody else can correct me on that, but the board decided to give us direction every time we did this process to either just put all the funding towards transit or go through this process. So that's kind of what we're doing today. I'm getting our board direction for this process. Next slide, please. Okay, so the process itself is we do public outreach and we get comments to identify any unmet transit needs. And then we filter through those comments and we see if they meet the unmet transit needs definition. And once we see which comments meet that definition, we analyze those comments. So next slide, please. Against this, we analyze it against the reasonable to meet criteria. And you guys actually just updated that criteria in our consent item. So this will be a bit changed, but we analyze it against this criteria. And if any of the needs that we find do not meet the criteria, then that transit, or then all the funds have to go towards transit. But if they don't meet any of the criteria and we find that there is no unmet transit needs, then agencies are allowed to use the LTF funds for streets and roads. Maybe I'll stop here if anyone has any questions on the
Any
process
questions from
itself.
board members? Director Nelson.
Yes, thank you, Chair Rouse. Historically, who are the agencies that have had unmet transit needs that they've been able to use it for streets and roads? I'm guessing Lompoc was one of them, unincorporated North County. Are there some other cities?
Yeah, mostly recently though, we haven't, we've only decided that it goes towards transit, but. Yeah, it's normally county and Lompoc. South Coast, they tend to put all of theirs towards transit because of MTD.
MTD, yeah.
And then, yeah, so it's mostly county and Lompoc.
Okay, were there any other cities that, I mean, I guess the other ones would be Guadalupe, Buellton, or Solvang in the last 5 or 10 years? Have they spent any?
No, there was discussion in this past year about potentially Solvang using some funding for streets and roads.
And I guess my next question is, even if we make the finding that there is no unmet needs, doesn't prevent that jurisdiction from still spending it on transit, right? It just gives them flexibility.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And through this process, to satisfy the definition and the criteria, it's a difficult task. And there have been lots of examples of improvements that were identified that came from public comment that were actually implemented independent outside of this process. And the last time that SBCAG found that there was an unmet transit need that was reasonable to meet was in 2006 when the Breeze 100 was created.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Director Mosby.
Yeah, actually, I think Lompoc got one for the homeless shelter, 2018, for an unmet transit need expansion for, that was their local colt route, though.
Right, that was, that's one of the examples that it was implemented outside of this process. We found it to be an unmet transit need, but through this, it did not meet the reasonable to meet criteria. However, it was implemented independently between an agreement between the county and the city of Lompoc.
Yeah, I think the city had said it was going to cost $80,000 and ended up only costing like $15,000, so made it reasonable to meet. But so you're telling me, so I know 10 plus years ago, the city of Lompoc was putting $1 million towards asphalt out of this, and then they decided, well, we better put it towards a transit facility. And they have, now down the road, bought a piece of land, $13 million set aside to build this facility that's now, I think, estimated to be $35 million facility, which, the cost of construction is like doubling faster than the money coming in, and they're chasing their tail. But at what time, I mean, is that money that's sitting in the bank could actually be used towards asphalt if it was determined that transit facility, or would it go back in the pool and the kitty to distribute, or what?
So the city of Lompoc would be limited to use it on non-transit depending on what happened that year. So every year, if we allowed it for non-transit, went through the entire unmet needs process, then you have the flexibility to revise your claim and reallocate it to streets and roads. But since 2020, the board has decided to not go through this process. So you have to use that money for transit. So Director Nelson is correct. Going through this process doesn't limit anybody from using their money for transit, but allows them the flexibility to use it for streets and roads if they decide to do so. So again, we'd have to do an audit of the money that's in your bank and what year it came from, and whether or not you can allow it to be reallocated to streets and roads, and revise your claim to do so, and that would come to the board as a action item to approve or not approve.
I just the curiosity in this case here, because it's kind of like they're chasing their tail and they're never going to catch it. So I don't know, unless they have some grant ferry that comes through or they shift it into gear. I don't. This was supposed to have been done a long time ago.
Yeah, they can always spend their money on transit. So.
Well, I mean, but they're just putting it aside to build this facility.
I hear you, but they could always take that money away from that facility and put it on transit without any consideration of SBCAG. So, well, you would have to revise your claim form, but yeah.
Come ride Colt one time and ride around town and see that there's one, maybe two people on a bus at most. So, I mean, I don't know what we'd spend it on, but I know there's a couple people asking for some requests, but I don't know what else. I guess we could give it to other agencies to do it, I guess. All right, give it away.
Director Hartman.
I guess my question is, do we get enough good ideas generated through this process that we can't fund through this process, but that we fund elsewhere? I mean, is the process worth it? Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Even in the last year when I took it over, Santa Maria had a couple comments that didn't really satisfy this process, but they decided that they're going to go through with it, just start hiring.
Yeah, so I want to clarify that. We always, every year, we go through the receiving comments process. We have to do that by law. The question today is whether or not you want us to take the next step and take those unmet needs that were identified and determine whether or not they're reasonable to meet. And if we go through that process, then it allows the money to be used and determine there are no unmet needs reasonable to meet, then they can use it for streets and roads.
Yeah, I can go through the next slide. My slide deck is not finished yet. Okay. So I can kind of go through the process itself too, or the difference.
Good,
so if we do option one, then, or for both options, we do public outreach. So we have a public hearing and we get comments. If we decide that if you decide that we only want to put these specific funds towards transit, then we will take the comments and put it in a memo and bring it back to you. But if we decide that we want the flexibility and putting the funds towards streets and roads, then we'll take the comments and analyze them to see if they are if there are any unmet transit needs in the county that are reasonable to meet. And then we also do a demographic analysis too. So we get the public outreach and we do get a good amount of people to come every year, And then I have, so this is just an overview again of the specific recommendations. The first one is allowing the TDA funds to be used for non-transit purposes, so streets and roads. And the second one is can only be used for transit. And then we also took these to TTAC and SBCAG, and they were, it's 1 and 2, but it was pretty much flipped.
Dr. Hartman, are you still? Do you have a?
I was just curious. Can you go back to that slide? I wanted to see what the vote was. So it was.
Oh, sorry.
So TTAC
TTAC wanted
voted
option
for-
1.
Yeah.
And what's SBCAG?
SBCAG is our transit advisory committee.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. The roads guys versus the bus guys.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Okay, Director Nelson.
Well, I guess is there public comment? I was going to make a motion once we get a chance.
Okay. I just had one question. The first was, so when we talk about the transit funding being used for transit only and how it relates to fare box recovery, is the transit funding strictly operation or is it capital as well? And does fare box recovery relate to the entire cost or just to operations?
It's capital as well, but I can. You can go ahead.
Mr. Becker?
You can use it for capital costs, such as what the city of Lompoc is doing for the transit center. And the fare box recovery is operations.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, anybody from South County? All right, Director Nelson, do you want to make a motion?
We have public comment.
Oh,
We can call for
do
public
we have
comment
public
first.
comment?
If there are any members of the Zoom webinar who wish to speak, would you please use the raise hand feature and I will call upon you. There is one public commenter from South County, Chris Sneddon. If you can please go up to the microphone.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning. Sorry I couldn't be up north today. This is Chris Sneddon with County Public Works. I just wanted to advocate for the recommendation 1 and also provide some more information. First of all, if you notice on the funding thing, the funding off the top that goes to SBCAG is specifically taken off the top to pay for these types of studies. So they do provide valuable information, whether needs are able to be met or not. That provides information to the county so that we can look at maybe if there's other things we can do, even if the funding isn't there for or even if the finding isn't there that it's reasonable to meet. We have run pilot services and things like that based on the information that we've gotten from these studies. So it's valuable information. So I think it's important to do that on an annual basis. The second thing is I just wanted to note that when there are funds that go to the county under the Streets and Roads article, that the county is committed by practice to using that for transit-related and mobility and improvements as well as safety improvements. And the types of projects that we're able to do with that funding are, for example, having a bike lane sweeping program, making last mile connectivity where we're connecting pedestrian facilities up to bus stops and doing pedestrian safety improvements. So it's not a huge amount of money, but it does have a lot of bang for the buck when we are able to use this, and we are committed to using it for those types of improvements versus, straight road maintenance type work. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there further public commenters?
There is no additional public comment.
Okay, with that, we'll go back to Director Nelson.
Yes, thank you, Chair Rouse. Thank you, Chair Rouse. Yeah, I appreciate that Director Sneddon was able to be here to make a comment on there, because I think this question is really about flexibility and options, and I think that I would prefer that we have more options, not less, and so I'm going to make a recommendation that we do option 1, to go through with the unmet transit needs process and make a determination so that local jurisdictions that potentially would have an opportunity to use those funds, if they in fact are no unmet needs. I just think it also adds some value, what Director Sneddon said about, to comment on my motion, that, what we're trying to do in the county is not just take that money and just pave roads. We're trying to solve some of these problems that are really connected to transit as well. And as a supervisor that this will most probably impact in my district, I'm committed to that as well. We've got a lot of capital projects surrounding some of these areas in my district that we definitely want to make some investments in, and this would help us do that if in fact we find that there's no unmet transit needs. So my motion would be option 1.
I'll
Director
second.
Patino, okay. Motion by Nelson, seconded by Patino.
I have a clarification.
Director Brown?
please. The motion was for option 1. Do you mean option A?
Yeah, so in the presentation, it's option,
On the agenda, it's option 1.
yeah, on the agenda, option 1,
yeah.
it was option A in the
the
original
same.
packet.
Yeah.
Same. 1 and A are the same thing,
Yeah.
from what I understand. If-
Yeah, on the TTAC agenda, it was AB. So
Thank you, Mayor Brown.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments to the motion? Everybody understands the motion? South County as well?
Yes.
With that, we will have a roll call vote, please.
Director Silva?
Aye.
Director Perotti?
Aye.
Director Patino?
Aye. Aye.
Director Mosby?
Aye.
Director Lee?
Aye.
Director Lavanino? Director Julian?
Aye.
Director Hartman? Director Clark? Director Clark?
Aye.
Director Capps?
Aye.
Director Brown?
Aye.
Vice Chair Nelson?
Aye.
And Chair Rouse?
Aye. Thank you very much. At close of that item, we'll go to an Executive Director report. Director Kern.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board. My executive director's report is dedicated to our 20-year anniversary of SBCAG. 2 decades ago, we had a hiring spree. We hired many 20-year employees, but Sarkis was one of them. He joined SBCAG with a passion for urban planning and a knack for turning complicated funding puzzles into real improvements. Today, as the Director of Programming, he is our quiet force behind billions of dollars in state and federal transportation investments. These are projects and programs that most travelers never think about, but rely on every day. From the Santa Barbara US 101 multi-corridor project, from Santa Barbara to Muscle Shoals, to our countywide transit systems, rail, bike, pedestrian, and local street upgrades. From the passage of Measure A, which he was a witness of, to the securing of the final state dollars that complete the 101 widening, Sarkis' career reflects on a rare blend of persistence, strategy, and community focus. We are all benefiting from Sarkis' leadership skills and relationship building that he has facilitated throughout the state. So please join me in celebrating and congratulating SBCAG on his 20-year anniversary. And that's my report.
Okay.
We don't get a picture from 20 years ago? I want to see.
I think his hairdo
Oh, we have some doozies.
No flowers? Oh,
Yeah, we have him on a tricycle when we did a little tricycle competition way back when. He was a wild child. Yeah.
well, congratulations, Kashik. That's very good. Very good. We'll move to the Caltrans Director report from Veronica Lizama, Branch Chief Regional and Planning and Local Development Review South. On behalf of District 5, Director Scott Eads.
Yes, good morning,
There you
Director
are.
Rouse, Chair Rouse, and directors. Again, Veronica Lizama on behalf of Caltrans District Director Scott Eads. I do have a couple of items to report on this morning. First is that pavement with high friction surface treatment has been placed along Highway 101, just north of the Gaviota tunnels. The final roadway striping for this project will also be occurring this week. Second and lastly, Caltrans is partnering with the City of Guadalupe on holding a public engagement meeting on the Highway 1 pavement project on November 19th from 5 to 7 p.m. at City Hall. The goal of this meeting is to provide the community with an update on the project. It's also important to note that this is one of several forthcoming meetings that the team will hold as the project develops. And that concludes my report. Happy to take any questions that the board may have. Thank you.
All right. Any questions? Director Lagavino.
Thank you, Chair Rouse. Just want to raise awareness on, and I'm sure I know you know about it, but Highway 166 West at Obispo. We know that this is in the planning stage for some improvements there. We have a new school across the way in Lompoc, and kids are getting across 166. Guadalupe. What did I say?
Lompoc.
Lompoc.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
I know.
That's a long journey. That sounds like the walk my dad had to go to school, uphill both ways.
In the snow.
Yeah. So in Guadalupe, no wonder why he didn't act like, no wonder why it hasn't been addressed. I've been sending people to Lompoc. But we actually just had a child hit there recently, and it's going to continue unless something's done. And I know it's in the project plan for 3, 4, 5 years down the road. We're trying to put together a town hall in Guadalupe to try to address that and see what can be done in a temporary capacity. So just want that on the radar screen, want to get a commitment that we can get somebody from Caltrans at the meeting as we establish it and try to come up with the best possible scenarios so that kids can get across that street.
Very good. Director Patino, did you? Oh, Director Nelson.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to comment that I've been advocating up here for the 101 maintenance on Betaravia on the southbound between Betaravia and Santa Maria Way for quite some time. And, my advocacy, I hopefully here has actually got that addressed. It's now a lot safer. I wanted to thank Caltrans for getting after that. And just wanted to highlight that for some of my colleagues that you have little sections that sometimes if you bring them up in these times, they get tired of hearing it from you and they actually go out there and get it done. So I just wanted to, add that as one of the strategies that's has been successful for me. But I'm also going to highlight Santa Lucia interchange. I know that there's some changes that have been made there, but we just had another death there. An unborn child was died when there was an accident when his mother was in. And so, despite the fact that changes are being made, we're still having deaths there. And I don't know how many we're going to have before we get even more action on that. I know we're talking about planning, but when I'm hearing planning, I'm hearing a timeline of potentially 20 to 30 years, and we have people dying in the Lompoc Valley. And I just think that needs to be elevated on the urgency level of Caltrans to solve that problem there. And, we don't need Band-Aids, we need solutions. So I wanted to make sure that's on your radar, and that was highlighted today.
Director Julian, did you have a question?
Yes, I just want to echo Supervisor Levanino's point on Guadalupe. What stays consistent, I was talking to Mayor Patino here that we wish 30 years ago that the population of Santa Maria was at 25,000, and Guadalupe was 22,000. But what is consistent is Highway 1, Caltrans Road, Highway 1, 166, Southern Pacific Railroad, that doesn't change. We're going to go, the population of Guadalupe now is from 2,200, it's almost going to be 9,000 by probably the end of this year. And the road issue is a big one. So Caltrans is going to see a petition soon in terms of from residents in Pasadena and Guadalupe to actually come out and talk with a group with the citizens and residents to determine what's going on and how best to prevent any accidents on Highway 166 and Obispo Street and Flower Street. So thanks, Caltrans, for doing what you can, and you'll be getting an invite soon from the city of Guadalupe and the residents. So thank you.
Thank you. Director Mosby.
I just wanted to ditto what Vice Chair Nelson said about the San Lucia Canyon as well, sooner than later, because we know the numbers are going to start stacking up and keep stacking up, especially with weather changes and such too. So I know you're trying, but there's got to be a better solution.
Okay. Very good. Any comments from South County?
Yes, Director or Chair Rouse, it's Perotti. Yes,
Okay.
I want to first thank Caltrans for their employee, Leif Kohler. The city wants to thank him for going above and beyond helping us with the San Jose Creek Trail Grant, which is on pause, and we're all holding our breath that $11 million will go through, which I believe it will. But, he's been just really wonderful, and we often don't get recognition for all our jobs we do, so I just wanted to make sure he was recognized today. Thank you.
All right, very good. And if there's no further comments or questions, we'll move on to the next item, which are the committee meeting updates, and that'll be CalCog with Director Nelson.
Yes, thank you. Let me bring up my notes here for a moment. So we had our CalCog meeting on August 18th, board directors. Mostly CalCog is monitoring state legislation, advocating on behalf of its members, including Santa Barbara SBCAG. And, there was a report back on the legislative session. Obviously the cap and invest conversation, now that's been extended, is definitely a big part of the conversation that we're all having. Also, our organization is really monitoring SB 375 and what's going on with there and making sure that jurisdictions like Santa Barbara County, our needs are being met and that we're having an active voice in that conversation. We do have our annual meeting on November 6th and 7th, as well as spring meeting in March 9th and 11th. I'm always glad to have anybody join me on any of those if you like. If you want to get involved. I think I got voluntold into this position, although I am learning a little bit more and more each meeting and enjoying it. So thank you guys for that appointment. I'll continue to try to have your interest in mind as we attend these and make sure that our voice is heard.
All right, very good. We'll move on to 1-minute reports. Do any directors have a 1-minute report? Director Patino.
Yes. We have the Air Fest in Santa Maria at the airport this weekend. Starts at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's always fun. And you don't know what you're going to see, but it's always going to be a treat. And there are aircraft that you can go in and out of. There'll be a lot of vendors there. But I think one of the important things is in Santa Maria, we have done 80 line miles in chip seal to the tune of $3 million. So. Which was a cost saving for us and the way that we did it. And hats off to the head of roads in Santa Maria and his crew. They just did a great job. I know people didn't like the interruption in their day, having to maybe go around or slow down when they came through there. But like I've said, I get most of my complaints for any potholes in town. But I also got thank yous. I think people think I actually got out and did this myself because I got many thank yous from people that I would run into. Thank you.
All right, Director Brown.
I want to remind you that we have a haunted house coming up for celebrating our October, and it's at the Theater Fest, and it's really, really a fun 2 days, and come enjoy. That's all I had.
Director Nelson.
Yes, thank you, Chair Rouse. I just wanted to highlight some data that just came out, especially as we deal with not only transit here, but housing here at SBCAG. Apartmentlist.com just came out with their, rents growths and numbers, and actually Santa Maria actually saw a rent reduction from 22 to 2025 by 12%. We actually ranked 4th in the nation. So some of those that concerned that we can't build our way out of this, we seem to be doing it in the Santa Maria Valley. Probably a lot of credit goes to the mayor. Hopefully we're doing a little bit of that in the unincorporated area as well to be adding to those numbers. But we're actually seeing rents going down, also probably in part because of the ADUs, which is not always pleasant. But I think that narrative needs to get out there too, because I think there's this assumption, especially in other parts of our county, that it doesn't seem like they can ever get their head above water. It seems like we're actually getting a functional housing market here in the Santa Maria Valley, and just wanted to highlight that for the decision makers that are here in the room so that they can see that there are ability to do that.
All right, very good. Are there any one reports from the South County?
No reports.
Okay, and then from Santa Barbara, our ATP Cycle 6 project, Cliff Drive, Vision Zero, West Side Active Transportation, and Milpa Safe Crossing projects are all in the final design phase. And with that, we're going to adjourn. The next meeting is going to be on November 20th, 2025 in Santa Barbara. Thank you very much.